Slim Shady in love? Reports suggest yes, and the name is Katrina Malota. From backstage to heart, how did they keep it this quiet? After nearly 2 decades of silence around his love life, Eminem's world just shifted, and nobody saw it coming. The most guarded man in hip-hop has quietly opened the door, and standing there is the last person fans expected. The woman who's been inches from him for years, the one keeping him camera-ready while he kept the world at arm's length. Her name is Katrina Malota, and if you think this is just a workplace fling, think again. Because what's unfolding looks like the most personal chapter of Marshall Mathers' life yet. For years, the public story on Eminem was simple. Father first, artist second, and a locked vault when it came to romance. Then the whispers started. A stylist from Michigan, a familiar face behind the scenes, someone who understood the difference between Slim Shady, Eminem, and Marshall. 3 names, 1 man, too complicated for casual love. The reveal didn't explode with paparazzi photos or a splashy red carpet moment. It seeped out through the cracks. Industry chatter, silent confirmations, and a growing sense online that the world's most private rap icon wasn't alone anymore. And that was only the beginning. Who is Katrina Malota? She's not a headline chaser. She's not an influencer building a brand off proximity. She's a Detroit area creative with 15 years in the trenches. Stylist, makeup artist, the person who can turn a face into a message before the cameras even roll. She's worked with giants, Snoop 50, Robin Thicke, and she's been close enough to Eminem to catch what most people miss. The man who shows up on time, the professional who still obsesses over details, the father who slips away to take a call from one of his kids. That's where the rumor mill started, noticing the way she moved in his orbit like she belonged there. Not as a fan, not as a fling, but as a constant. People love a meet cute with fireworks, but this wasn't that. This was proximity becoming trust, trust becoming comfort, and comfort, slowly, cautiously, becoming something they didn't need to announce to feel real. Reports claim the shift happened after a heavy period in Eminem's life, when grief had quietly reintroduced itself, and the old armor didn't feel like enough. That's when Katrina's role, steady, grounded, never thirsty for attention, took on a different glow. Not a savior, not a story device, just a person showing up, over and over, until even a man who built a career on walls realized he could let someone through. To understand why this moment is seismic, you have to remember Kim Scott. High school halls. Young love that went from basement dreams to global stadiums, then imploded under the weight of fame, addiction, pride, and the sheer pressure of becoming mythic while still figuring out how to be human. Their story is written into the discography. The fighting, the falling, the makeup, the breakup, the second try that didn't stick, and the daughter who was always the axis. They were both right, both wrong, both raw. Kim once said their rhythm had a 2-year limit before the cracks started to spread. It was complicated, it was messy, and it was real. After the second divorce in 2006, Eminem didn't just lock the door, he welded it shut. Public romance? Not happening. Not for nearly 20 years. In those years, another identity took center stage. Dad. The same man who tore into the world on tracks turned soft-spoken when it came to his kids. Hailie. The North Star he once said put his hustle into overdrive. Alaina, the niece he adopted because family, when it counts, means paper and ink, not just blood. Stevie, whose journey he protected while letting them find their own voice. Each milestone became the story. College graduations, weddings where the cameras didn't matter because a father was walking a daughter down the aisle. That's the version of Eminem Katrina would have known up close. The protectiveness, the schedules, the sharp edges sanded down by time and responsibility. So why does Katrina fit? Because her world runs parallel. Behind the lens, not in front of it. She builds everyone else's confidence without needing the spotlight herself. Insiders say she's calm, unbothered by chaos and allergic to clout. She's the kind of person who remembers call times, not comment sections. And when you're Eminem, living between legend and reality, that kind of energy isn't just refreshing, it's safe. Rumors suggest she's met the family, that her presence doesn't clang like a foreign object, but settles like furniture that's always belonged. She's not there to replace anyone. She's there like a chord progression you can't unhear once it clicks. The irony that only Detroit could write. two Michigan kids orbiting the same ecosystem for years before gravity did its job. Detroit isn't Hollywood. It's not built for grand reveals. It's built for work, for loyalty, for keeping business off front lawns. In that context, their relationship makes perfect sense. The city that molded him, hustle, grit, the ability to keep your mouth shut, also created the space for this to grow. Katrina didn't need to leave breadcrumbs for attention. She needed to be excellent at her job. She was. And somewhere along the line, excellence started to look like intimacy. But this is Eminem. Privacy isn't just a preference. It's a strategy. He's watched the circus swallow careers whole. He's seen love become content. So the reveal wasn't stage managed. It was quiet. Let the work speak. Let the family breathe. And if the world catches on, let it. The fans' reaction was instant and split in the most Eminem way possible. Half disbelief. No way he's letting someone in. Half relief. Finally, man. Comment sections started filling with the same sentiment. If anybody has earned peace, it's him. It wasn't starstruck gushing. It was protective approval, like watching a friend who's been through enough find a soft place to land. Meanwhile, the catalog whispers. Eminem has always folded life into bars, even when he swears he won't. You can hear seasons in his delivery. Rage giving way to craft. Craft making room for reflection. If this relationship is as steady as reports suggest, the next era might not be a love album, but it could be a life album. Less about swinging at ghosts and more about naming the ones that stayed. Maybe the punchlines won't soften, but the target might. Less ricochet, more precision. Less fire for fire's sake, more warmth you have to earn. And if you listen closely, you can already feel it. The veteran who has nothing left to prove is the most dangerous kind of artist. There's a detail that keeps coming up from people who've worked around both of them. Katrina respects the sanctity of normal. She won't post hints. She won't slip details. She won't treat a life as a ladder. In a culture where oversharing is currency, that mindset is radical. It's also exactly what would make this work. The ability to live a regular Tuesday in a world that tries to turn every Tuesday into a press release. That quiet is not an absence. It's a boundary. And boundaries are how long stories get told without burning out the people inside them. Of course, skeptics exist. They always do, especially when a legend shifts any part of his mythology. There are fans who've grown up defending his solitude, who worry that letting someone in means letting the world in. But look closer. The blueprint hasn't changed. Eminem remains selective, deliberate, measured. Katrina doesn't bend that. She complements it. If anything, her presence suggests that the system is working. Only the most trustworthy people get access. And even then, only as much as makes sense. That's not fear. That's maturity. And then there's the family lens, the one that matters most. Hailie, the podcast host, the newlywed, the woman who grew up on the other side of headlines, has been vocal about drawing lines around privacy without building a fortress of silence. That balance is learned, painfully and publicly. Alaina, the daughter whose wedding day turned into a testimony about gratitude, spoke about what it meant to be walked down the aisle by a dad who never missed the moments that mattered. Stevie, steadily defining themselves on their own terms, supported without fanfare. If Katrina fits into that ecosystem, it's because she knows the rulebook. Celebrate in small rooms, protect in big ones. If you're waiting for some massive public rollout, stop. That's not this. What might happen, if anything, will be incremental. A verified thank you in an album booklet, the briefest acknowledgement in an interview, a side-by-side caught unintentionally at a family event where cameras are politely unwelcome. And that restraint will say more than a tabloid slideshow ever could. It will say, we don't owe you proof. We owe each other presence. In a culture addicted to proof, presence is scandalous. Still, for a storyteller like Eminem, the truest confirmation has always come on beat. Listen when the next project drops. Listen for the new pronouns, the subtle shifts in tone, the lines that don't lunge at enemies but settle beside a partner. It won't be gushy. It won't be corny. It will be coded in the language of a man who learned the hard way that love can't survive where performance is the priority. Katrina, if the reports are right, didn't demand an audience. She built a backstage you could live in. And what about Kim? That story never becomes irrelevant. It was too formative, too public, too raw. But relevance isn't the same as recursion. Grown-ups can honor what was without reopening wounds that finally scarred over. The gift of time is context. The gift of parenthood is recalibration. The gift of a steady partner is a bodyguard for your peace. From the outside, it looks like Kim's chapter taught him the price of love without boundaries. Katrina's chapter, if it's truly here, looks like the lesson applied. It's wild how a rumor, one sentence about a stylist and a superstar, can bloom into a portrait of where a man is in his life. Not because we're desperate for tea, but because we know what it took for him to get here. Fame tried to devour him. He outrode it. Addiction tried to keep him. He outran it. Rage tried to define him. He outgrew it. Love now is not a reward. It's maintenance. It's how you protect the life you built once the war is over. If Katrina is part of that, then welcome to the era where survival is no longer the hook. Stability is. So where do we go from here? Nowhere loud. Maybe the clearest next step is a line in the credits you almost miss. Maybe it's a song where the dagger point faces inward, carving wisdom instead of wounds. Maybe it's nothing at all, and that nothing is everything. The most shocking plot twist for Slim Shady isn't a diss or a scandal. It's peace. It's choosing a partner who understands that the spotlight isn't a sun. It's a burn, and the cure is shade. Maybe this is the line, the one he'll never record but will live like a chorus. After all the battles, all the characters, all the masks, Marshall didn't lose himself. He found someone who could meet him there, in the after. And if you listen closely, past the noise, past the history, past the need to define it too soon, you can hear it. Not applause. Not headlines. Just a door closing softly, a house settling, and a life beginning again. Quietly, deliberately, beautifully.